Alright guys, we're back. This is video 4. We're going to do some electrical stuff here, but I'm going to do some more unique things real quick that I don't normally do. Just a little update. Reached out to Steve, is the guy who owns this. And this piece here was supposed to be an upgraded part that Angel was supposed to come out with, but it just never happened. So, it's some kind of volumizer setup. I'm assuming it's just a volumizer, but that's why he had the cap volumizer, which makes sense. But yeah, this is a marker he got back in high school. You know, which means it costs more than his car. It costs more than my car, and I went to high school in 2006, 2005 I got my car. So it cost more than my first pickup. So yeah, it's an expensive thing. It's really neat that some kid, some guy at this point, decided to be, when he was a kid, to just spend all his money on the highest tech paintball gun available versus his car or anything else. So we're going to focus mostly on electronics on this episode. One thing I want to do is, here's all of the standard black or standard steel screws. I'm using a little evapor rust. I'm just going to try to clean these as best I can, clean the rust off them, clean the grime off them, and then we're going to re-blacken them all, just to go over the top on it, and just to have that full-on, you know, best we can do with the parts available. You know, with the stock parts, instead of trying to just replace some of this stuff, let's just re-blacken it, get all the shit off it, and just, you know, we'll put this off to the side, and we'll start on the electronics a little bit. We'll start with the solenoid real quick, just go through it. Everything looks pretty, you know, proper and in shape here. Just want to go through it because sometimes these get sticky. It sounded pretty strong, but they are, I'm not going to call them rebuildable because I don't want to try to replace the O-rings in it or anything. But help if I'm on the screw head here. Real light grip on that. I think they torqued those down a little bit harder. I've never really felt one that loose before, unless it's just him or just someone opened it before. So these are always, you know, they have to go back together the correct way, these solenoids, but they're not very difficult. B goes towards the front, A goes towards the back, A goes towards all your stuff here. SMC goes up on these. I like to try to leave everything, you know, in about as best order as I can. That popped off pretty easy. You have a seal there that you have to worry about. So I'm going to put that right there like that. I don't think it matters the direction of the actual piston, but I always try to keep it just in the same direction. That was going to be another set of screws. This is going to have another smaller section of air, which is actually being controlled by the little solenoid. Everything looks pretty good there. Just take note that the piston's all the way backwards. If you ever try to fix one of these and it's still a little sticky, or maybe you used a little too much lube, because you don't really want to use much lube at all here. Real small amount. I'm going to push it out the front. You just want to make sure it stays in the same orientation that you've seen it in, so it doesn't start leaking or make anything weird happen. I'm just going to clean this off. Everything looks pretty good here. I'm going to flip it over, and just, I'm recognizing that I flipped it over, so I want to flip it back over. It's really shiny too. That's great shape. It's in really good shape. I have this especially wet lube that I cut here. So I'll mix it together a little bit. This has been sitting on a shelf for a long time. I'm just going to give it a little bit of lube. Just feel everything. Everything feels pretty good. I'm going to flip it over one more time. Clean up any extra. Flip it over. She's going back together. Just be gentle putting it in. It is pretty tight tolerance, so you don't want to, jam anything. Put that down. Knock these 2 screws out. Just the tiniest bit of lube. I'm going to put it over here where it doesn't matter, where I can't block anything, and I'm just going to grab it as I go. Just give everything a nice little sheen. So I'm going to put that on. There's nothing proprietary about this solenoid. It's an SMC. I mean, it's nothing Angel proprietary. This whole thing technically is fully rebuildable at some point if you have the right parts, but it's just not easy to come by these proper size O-rings and everything. There's no need to tighten solenoids down way too much. They are fairly delicate electronics, so I'm going to push this back just gently until it hits the back there, which is the position it was in prior to. Same deal on this one. Put a little lube in this corner. I'm just going to grab it as needed and just bring it around to wet the seal, because these seals are not a typical O-ring. So SMC's pointing up. And if you do a lot of solenoid work or anything like this, I would suggest getting a nicer set of these little jeweler's screwdrivers. I use a 50 is the one I like using for the solenoids and stuff. One final. So that's together. Let's lube up. A little bit of crap in there. Clean that out. Oh. That's just old lube. We don't really want this getting in the marker. Let's position this right. Goes on either way, really, if you just position it. But now this is the part you got to think about it for a second. If you grab the body, the solenoid sits in this way. If you look, all of the holes that it's being used are up here towards the signature on this one. So this has to be oriented this direction, which pushes the air over to there. It's just one of those things where if you just don't do it right, it's not going to be a problem. It's just not going to shoot. It might leak, and, you know, if it leaks and it doesn't cycle ever, you probably just switch this plate up or something like that. If you took the solenoid off, it'd be the first place I'd look. Alright, if you look at that, that's going to come to this side, which is the side I need it to. We're not going to bother getting this lubed up yet because it's not going back in the marker at this point. But it could. Alright, so that part's over. Let me grab some of the electronic stuff that I'm going to need, and I'll be right back. We're going to make the charger and the battery. I have some videos on making both of those, but I'm just going to include them on this one. Why not? I'm doing it anyway, so I want to just fully document this guy. The evaporust, if I want to just talk about that for a second. Let that go for a day or two. Let it evaporust, and then I'll show you me trying to blacken it again. It's gonna try just cooking oil right now, heat it up, dip it in some cooking oil, and see how black that gets it. And if I need something darker, I can do something better. But I just want to see where that gets me. All right, I'm going to be right back. We're gonna do the prep up work here. Let me get this going. New charger. These are the So Shine chargers I've been selling. Pop the tip that comes with it off. Get my little cheapo X-Acto. Gonna find my old one, so I'm just gonna open up a new one. Cut the positive a little bit shorter. That is my new soldering iron. Well, new to me. I was using some Chinesium one for the longest time. Last couple of years I've been using this Chinese one, which is also my my shrink tube heater, or the my heat gun for my shrink tube. But the soldering iron itself was dying. I was running out of tips because they were just eating themselves. And I upgraded to a new to me a Heiko, a 951 system, and this thing is beautiful in comparison. Let me just prep my tip. This thing is gorgeous for a soldering iron. Highly recommend. I don't know if that's going to screw you guys up or not. I need some solder. I don't normally solder on this station, but I just want to have everything here. All right. Grab the correct plug. I bought these in bulk, and I just have a ton of these pre-soldered. So I spent like a night just soldering these one day, just to make my life easier. Let's go in righty here. And I forgot to put the end on. Done that before. All right. I'm not happy with that. Let's get a little hot. Let's get a little more solder involved there. I don't like that end. Jeez. All right. I like that a lot better. So I try to stress relieve these best I can by using some nice hot glue. There you go. I just glue the whole end together so it helps relieve the stress on pulling on this thing and all that, because it's not a perfect bond in the back. So that's what I came up with as my my go-to way now to make that easier for me. Guess I'll just leave the hot glue on. Charger's done for now. If you see the original stuff, this is just hot glue itself here. We're going to reuse the original wiring because it's still good. So that battery's gone. So that's ready to go. Now let me prep my my battery stuff for right now. Then I'll pull the whole welder over for the batteries. We use these 1600 milliamp hour 10 cells, 2/3 A cells. I just like to check them. So a standard NiCad cell like this, charged is 1.2 volts. That's 1.02 volts, so that one's not fully charged. So an older Angel, like LCD, IR3s, LEDs, they use a 6-volt system. That's 1.02 volts. So, 6 divided by 1.2 is 5 cells. That's 1.07 volts. That's a little more. Jeez. 1.01 volt. That's the least. So it's 1.1. So let me grab a couple more. I like to try to keep them all relatively close in charge, or else you might get a cell when you charge it initially. You might have one cell that doesn't distribute the same. That's what I've kind of tend to found out with these batteries. That's a light one. That one's heavy. Light one. All right, one more. 4 to 4. And is it going to be one or the other? Which ones are we going with? .99. Not you. You fail. I don't like you. $1.1. We're going with those guys. I can always charge the cells. I can charge them individually, which I'll probably end up doing on some of these towards the end, but I don't mass produce batteries. It takes a while. I do them by hand. I do them myself, so you've seen the operation before. We have to de-sleeve this because when we put the other outer casing on it, it's going to take up too much room in the tube. These are actually a little bit bigger than the older cells. I mean, they didn't just double capacity without making these things a touch bigger. They are a touch bigger in diameter, which, you know, exponentially increases the area or the volume available of material to pack more charge into it. So decase them. I'm gonna go light. We don't really want to try to dig into them or anything like that. Ooh. All right. So we got 5 cells, 1.2 volts a piece. So equal to 6 volt, 1.2, 2.4, 3.6, 4.8, 6 volts. So let me grab my leads. I pre-cut my leads out of just a ribbon. These are standard size, roughly. Angel was nothing crazy, but this is all my metal I'm going to use, all my nickel strips. Let me move this out of the way and pull the big old battery welder on here, and I'll be right back. I'm going to try to do it on this bench. It's plugged into the same power source that all my lights are plugged into, so if I lose you, my bad. Here's my super sweet, oop, I'm missing the foot pedal. Alright, so without any load, that seems to work. Alright, so here's my super, you know, advanced jig. Center this guy up. Gotta make sure your leads aren't touching. I wish I had a better angle on this, but you know, it is what it is right now. Pop 1, pop 2. Pop 1, pop 2. You always want to feel them as you're actually doing this to make sure you don't overheat them. Like, because that can kill them. I always like to check my voltage as I'm going. You're a little too long. Never like that lead being super long. Hit this one right in the middle. And one more for good measure. You put it right in the middle so it flips it up. It makes a nice little shelf there. Going to just nip the edges on this guy. So that one's obviously top. Any one of these could be the bottom. So put them in this jig that I have. I just bend over the tab. Square it up as best as I can. Hit that. Just give it a check to make sure I'm not going nuts. So it's 2 batteries, should be roughly 2.4 volts or close enough. 2.2 volts, which is good. Kick these back down, let them hit. That one hit. That's a little awkward. Kick that one. Just feel them real quick. .2 volts. No, almost 3.3. So you see we're not fully charged, but that's okay. There's really no rhyme or reason to doing these, trying to keep them lined up. But it's just what the Angel was originally. That was the original. Damn it. Come on, baby. There we go. There we go. Just how they originally had it, was they lined them up. Probably a decent jig, but something similar to this. 4.35. Let's try to line that one up too. And one final. You have to be over 5. 5.42. So I'll get up to 6. A little bit over 6 when it's fully charged. Just a touch over as it overcharges. I flip them up. Bend down the second end. Give them a little tug, make sure it's all tight. Knock down the edges. So that's tight enough. There you go. use fairly thick tape. I use a Scotch Super 88 is the tape I use. I enjoy this tape for what this is. You see I banana it up. I always put 2 layers of tape on. Original Angel had 1 layer of tape. It was a little bit thinner of a tape that they were using. Then they had a really, really thin, clear shrink tube that they put on, which I think is this shrink tube. Then they put on another shrink tube, which is the green shrink tube, which we're going to use, which is more indicative of the more modern, or just not the very, very first, or not the NIM batteries, but the NiCad batteries. If I didn't go backwards on that, I'm sorry if I did. My mind's other places. That makes it fairly straight. And one I like to leave a little bit long of this tape, because I'm going to fold over the negative lead on this side, and that's the edge that you're going to touch it the most when you're doing a battery. You're going to hit there the most if you're trying to put these together yourself. Let's grab a lead of this. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to pull this off the table. I need to affix this to the back end here, and it's too long to do on the table right now, so I'm going to pull this to the edge. So sorry about that. All right. Now we're going to just fold that over. Let that flick up like that. And that's pretty good. That's our raw battery. Let's grab our cardstock. Now, some of them had cardstock on both ends, like the original batteries, these nickel metal hydride batteries. Sorry, these are NiCads. So nickel metal hydrides we switched to. I'm sorry, I got that backwards right there, guys. But yeah, the original NiCad batteries had cardboard on both ends. At some point, they stopped using the second piece of cardboard, but I use nice cardstock on both ends, just cause. I'm gonna just give it a dab of glue. And that should be nice just to hold that bottom end, you know. Now I need to slip my sleeve on it, which is here. So to cut these, I just made 2 chop marks on this tool, or that jig. One's for the 4-cell batteries, the 4.8. The other one's for the 5-cell batteries. Just to try to keep it consistent and easy. one of the downsides to double taping it and having that thicker, you know, better tape is it makes this kind of a pain in the ass. But I got on. Alright. So let me get these soldered up, these two. So soldering iron back on. Focus and camera, yep. Trying to focus on that. Nope, gotta nip that one. Looks pretty good there. Let me grab. That's one thing I do a little different, just, I don't know, because it's mine. Because I use the white. I use a little bit of black just to add some extra strength. And the one more thing we got to do. I don't know if you hear my dog up there. She's going nuts. I don't know why. We throw our top piece on there, like that. Grab our wire. All right. Slip that all the way in. Center that up best you can. It's about right. Let me see if my little heat gun gets over here. If it does, great. If it doesn't, I'll figure out what I'm doing. Yeah. It's not orthodox, I'm sorry, but let's get the air going. Alright, so that is our battery cell. Back end looks pretty good. The front end, we're going to use more glue. I like to fold that guy down. Like that, just to get everything centered and to help stress relieve all of the wires here. They have all this glue up there to act as a stress reliever, so if you pull on these wires or anything like that, it's not pulling on the connection point because you have a nice wad of glue helping it hold its place. Just a little too tacky. Let's just give this a shot in the bore, make sure it fits through the bore. See, it's a little bit tight. That's because the cell's a little bit big. I'm using a little bit thicker of a tape, and you know, it's just how we make it, but it fits in nice. It does slip in, so that's good. Yep. Just get that as tight as possible. We have room here on this one, but you know, just don't want to ruin it. So, all right, guys. Battery is together. The charger is together. I just went through that again. I'm evapor rusting the steel pieces. We're going to, I guess on this video here, this might be a little bit shorter, but I think it's still 30-40 minutes. So sorry if it's a little too long. But yeah, that's the prep work. We have to solder this in once it goes in because we couldn't get out the plug on the back cap or the back plate. So we'll have to put this in, solder it in place when it's in place. So we're going to hold that off because of that guy. And yeah, I'll let the Evaporust do its thing, and then it's off to assembly and tune will be the final video. All right, guys, Andrew FloryPB. This is part 4. The electronics are done, And that's it for now. See you.